What is wilderness? That question is now the premise of one of the great debates of the early 21st century. The word wilderness invokes an emotional response in most folks with visions of endless unspoiled vistas and fog-shrouded mountain peaks. But in the current debate, the word wilderness takes on an entirely different meaning when it's put under the control of the federal government. A federal wilderness designation can have serious implications for communities, counties, and entire states. For example, a pro-federal wilderness group in southern New Mexico is proposing to create more than 300,000 acres of new wilderness areas in and around Doña Ana County. What would all this massive new federally controlled land do to Doña Ana County in New Mexico? For ranchers, sportsmen, hunters, off-highway vehicle enthusiasts, and anyone else who has a legitimate interest in our open country, 300,000 acres of new federal wilderness has serious implications.
Pretty well shut me down. I have to have pretty free movement over all my roads whenever I think it's necessary to make those travels and check the water lines. It's very limiting as it is because it's such rugged country. But without the roads that I do have, it would really hinder my operation a lot.
Modern ranching practices require motorized access to Chihuahuan desert ranches, where wildlife and cattle must be fed and watered year-round.
At least 70 to 80% of my day is in a pickup truck full of plumbing supplies. We've got nearly 100 miles of pipelines and 30 or 40 drinkers that require constant maintenance and almost a daily check over 345 square miles of ranch land.
We need to actually really look at the stewards of the land, which is our current ranchers who are out there. Gosh, if we didn't have them monitoring our water resources and doing all the plumbing and work and labor that's behind that, I don't know where our wildlife would be at that point. Gosh, I know that the windmills and all the watering resources out there definitely improve the land and definitely help our wildlife that's out there.
Long-established ranches in Doña Ana County would be hit hard by federal wilderness designations. The Cox family has more than a century invested in their operation.
Well, from my personal perspective, of course, it's my heritage. But the agricultural industry has been a mainstay of Doña Ana County historically. It really began with ranches, many of the big ranches that came in here in the late 1800s. This is my family's life history.
We believe, and our family's been in ranching in this country for over 125 years, starting in Grant County on Mogollon Creek. But we believe that there's a way of life. There's a strength of family. There is a relationship with nature and our Creator that is hard to describe unless you do it. The stewardship of ranching is something that you truly don't understand until you're actually doing it.
Pro-wilderness groups mounted an aggressive campaign to railroad the process past the people and the politicians, but not everyone was fooled.
I think they went about it without full input. We have been listening 2 different sessions with ranchers, farmers, with the entire communities. I think that we can balance out protection, stopping development, and still give the private property rights to the ranchers. That's my intent.
I don't think it was any accident that ranchers weren't brought into this picture until September of this last year. I really feel that the proponents of wilderness knew that if all of the facts were disclosed, that they would not get the public support that they felt that they need to have to get this legislation. But the thing that really shocked me was that every high spot in Doña Ana County that was not already under the control of the federal government was in the Wilderness Alliance inventory of wilderness areas. And the writing on the wall was that that's what the long-term goal is to create wilderness of everything in Doña Ana County that has any elevation to it.
I'm concerned that many of the areas don't meet the specifications. The BLM testified yesterday that they did not, several of the areas did not. I'm not interested in making wilderness out of areas that are not compliant with the law.
The ranching community has done an excellent job and adapting to the desert situations and adapting their grazing operations so that they have the least impact on these areas. These people do have a heritage. They want to keep that heritage. And to keep that heritage, they have to apply the appropriate management to these ranches or they'll lose them.
Yeah, I feel a strong responsibility to take care of the land and the operation, to pass it on to others, to make it accessible to others. I think that's something that's been taught. I think, like I said, it's part of not only having the operation, but making sure that it's going to be there for others to continue with.
In New Mexico, large numbers of families love to get off the paved roads and explore the wonders of the land of enchantment in off-highway vehicles. These four-wheel drive clubs would be locked out of all federal wilderness areas.
Congress has defined wilderness to be something very specific, and that is not what people typically think of as wilderness. And so people need to understand there is a big difference.